Alright, what's up guys? This is NinjaDeathStrike bringing you another episode of How to Not Fail, and I wasn't planning to put anything else up, but then I just kind of decided I wanted to do this, I don't know, just because I like talking. So this is going to be a review of the next Destinies set. I know that I kind of do this with my pack openings, but I don't actually get to go through all the cards and talk about them. So what we're going to do is briefly just go through any of the cards that look interesting. We'll probably hit most of the rares. And I'm just going to give my opinion on whether or not they're good and how they're going to fit into the metagame. So I will preface this by saying this is absolutely my opinion only. Feel free to disagree. I know there are a lot of other big players who have already done this on like 6 prizes. The Top Cut's been talking about it, but I wanted to just give you guys my opinion, and let me know what you think in the comments, anywhere you disagree or anything you agree. If you think I overhyped something or undervalued something, let me know. But anyhow, let's take a look at the cards we got. So here's our first likely suspect, Amoonguss. I talked about him a little bit. Basically only here for his ability Spore Prize, and that every time you evolve him, you get to poison and confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. I think this is a pretty good card. It's certainly playable. However, I think Roserade's better. I've already mentioned that before too, I believe, but the main reason I think Roserade is better is because once this guy hits the bench, he is absolutely dead weight. Not only is he catcher bait with his 2 retreat, his attack sucks. Roserade's just a lot better option, so if you're going to use a status inducer, I would definitely recommend going with Roserade over this guy. Next, we're going to skip these guys. I'll talk about Pinsir real quick. Pinsir is interesting for Power Pinch. Some people have been using him as a lead in tandem with Sky Arrow Bridge to just try to slow down your opponent. Especially with DCE being so popular, Power Pinch can discard that. It's got a 75% chance of being able to discard that double colorless energy. So again, I think Pinsir is actually a workable tech in some decks. The main thing is that a lot of decks have energy acceleration. But this really does hurt decks that use a lot of DCEs, which is most of them. So I think this card is playable as a tech, but there are probably better options. Next, we have Arcanine, the rare one. The ability Blazing Mane automatically burns on contact, and then Fire Spin is 100 with a chance of discarding energy. Obviously, there's some synergy here with Fliptini, but it's broken. But I think this is a good card. 130 HP on a stage 1 is good. 100 for 3 is good. The ability is good. So, all around, it's just a good card. It's not great. It gets outshined completely by Reshiram, but certainly, again, a playable card. Also, you got to be careful of this retreat, but still, I don't think this is a bad card. Definitely usable. Moltres, kind of in the same boat. I actually like Arcanine better, though, just because its attack is cheaper. 4 energy is a lot of investment for only 90 damage. But Moltres does have the advantage of being 120 HP basic. That means that its retreat cost can also be managed with Sky Arrow. So again, this is another good card that is not really going to make an impact in the metagame, but is certainly playable. Reshiram we already know about, and same with Emboar. They're not really new, so I'm going to skip them. Got Arcuno. Again, we've got 120 HP basic, so that immediately makes it okay. Again, its attacks are okay. Ice Wing, I don't like at all. 80 for 4 is just way too expensive. Ice Beam, on the other hand, is a little more interesting. 50 with a chance of Paralysis is pretty nice. This kind of, I guess, is like a cheap Vanillux. It's basic, but you don't have that double flip to try to get the Paralysis. So, again, an okay card, but not going to be seeing any play in a real deck. Moving right along, we have another Beartic that is completely meh. I don't see any reason to use this one over the other two. They're both better, in my opinion, so we're going to skip him. And go to Lapras, the rare one. I just want to talk about Lapras because of his attack Call for Family. Lets you search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them on your bench. Really great for a water deck, even though I don't think for alligator decks are going to get a whole lot of play. I don't think they're very good anymore. If you're going to use them, Lapras is certainly an acceptable choice to play in there. And again, his kind of heavy retreat can be mitigated with Sky Arrow if you want to go that direction. Moving right along, we have the new Vanillux. I think this could be a one-of in Vanillux decks, which are completely unplayable on TCGO thanks to Victini, but in real life, I've seen some people try to tech them into other decks, but in my opinion, it's just too slow. It's a stage 2, and I don't know. The ability is really cool if you can actually get it up. I'm sure it's neat, but I've never actually seen someone successfully set this thing up. Normally, it just kind of wastes space. So the only deck I would consider playing this in is an actual Vanillux deck. You know, it can help you switch out, since trainer lock decks really, really don't like status. This gives you a way out of that. So worth considering, but not fantastic. Next, my boy Zebstrika. You guys have probably seen me messing around with this card. I really like this card. 90 HP on a basic is not very good, but I feel like this number for attacking Pokemon, it's not as bad as it was a set ago, because the EX is hit for 150 now. So, you know, basically everything with 150 and below is kind of in the same boat now, in the fact that they're just going to get one-hit KO'd by any big attack. You know, this guy will get knocked out by Reshiram and Zekrom non-EX, so that kind of sucks, but I don't think 90 HP is as big a deal as it was in the past. And he has 2 great attacks, so he's certainly usable. His first one, Disconnect, for 2 energy, does 40, and it item locks your opponent for 1 turn. So if you can get this guy attacking by turn 2, it can be very disruptive, since you can basically use it to hold off your opponent's setup while you set up freely behind him. And that's why he's gotten some play in electric decks. He makes a really great lead attacker. His other attack is also good, Lightning Crash. You have to discard all the lightning energy on him, but in return you get to snipe for 80. 80 damage is not ideal. If it were 90, it would be much, much better, because that lets him do 180 in 2 turns, which is enough to take out any EX that doesn't have an Eviolite on it. But still, it's certainly not a bad attack. Add to that the fact that he has a free retreat, and you just have a really solid card. I think this card is definitely playable as a tech in any kind of electric deck, and I might be trying it out. I've played with it a little bit. I ended up cutting him out just because I had too many techs, but I think if you want to tech him in, it's certainly a viable play, even, you know, in a big stage 1 deck. I think this guy can hold his own, which is really pretty cool, because that's you know, an unusual card. So next, Zapdos, the last of the birds. This one's been seeing the most play. I played with it myself, and my results have not been very successful. It looks pretty good. You know, it's got an attack that can snipe for 50. Granted, it's kind of expensive for 3 energy, but being able to snipe with no drawback is always nice. 120 HP basic, again, really nice. And then Thundering Hurricane has the potential to hit for big damage if you get some flips going your way. But I just found that when I tried to play it in my electric decks, it's just too slow. Why would I set up something that for 3 energy does, you know, just 50, when for 3 energy I can do 120 with Zekrom? So granted, I can't snipe with it, but I just found this card a waste of space. Maybe you guys have found a use for it, but I'd pass this one up. If you want to tech something odd in, I'd definitely go with Zebstrika over him. And we got Zekrom, Behem, I'm not going to mention, Musharna. I was really excited about this card, but I haven't actually found a use for it. I tried it in my Truth deck, and it was just too cumbersome. You know, there's already so many things you got to set up in there, and this is a card that just really gets destroyed by Catcher. 3 retreat and a terrible attack means that once it gets Catchered active, it's just dead space. The ability is really good, but it's just offset by terrible stats in every other category. So it's really a shame. It can work in trainer lock decks, but those are really, kind of dying out on their own just because of the EXs. So this is a card that would have been fantastic a couple of sets ago, but now is just kind of dead weight, and that's really too bad. And now we have Gardevoir. This is a card that got a lot of hype, and I haven't actually played with it just because, again, on TCGO it's broken. You can't rare candy into it, and that just makes it too slow to even attempt to use, in my opinion. If you can't rare candy, it's just not going to work out. So anyhow, I do think it's playable. I think that you can get a deck using it working for sure, but it is going to have problems with speed. So the big draw here is the ability that basically turns each of your psychic energy into double. So it cuts the attack price of all of your psychic Pokemon in half, which is really amazing. The obvious pairing is with Mewtwo EX, and that certainly works. It also pairs well with Darmaxitan to give it double the flips to hit those big numbers. So certainly a playable card, not one that I would use in a really super competitive deck, but it is, I think, a competitive card, if maybe not a really great one. And let's see, who else do we have? Dark. Dark just is terrible in this set. Nothing. Dark and Fighting kind of got the shaft. The only good Dark type is the Zoroark that's just a reprint. Cincino. Let's talk about this little guy because I hate fighting this card. It is so flippy. And of course that means when I fight it, I can never ever touch it. And when I try to use it, I flip tails constantly. So the ability is where its playability comes in. Smooth Coat. Anytime it gets attacked, you have to flip a coin. If you get a heads, the attack just fails flat out. So that's good. If you're good at flipping heads, you can never kill it. I've played this in a trainer lock deck, and I wish I'd recorded the match because it was the most infuriating match I ever had. I should have won like 4 times, and he just flipped heads every time to steal the win right out from under me. So if you flip heads, the card's basically invincible. That's all there is to it. Echoed Voice, 50 on the first turn, and then 100 the next turn. So it's kind of like Virizion. That's a pretty good attack. 100 for 3, not bad. So this is definitely a playable, if gimmicky card. I can't use it because I suck at flipping heads, but if you are lucky, go for it. And Wigglytuff, Round. We saw what Round can do. This is basically just a supporter for Seismitoad, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. Bronzong, probably the worst ability Pokemon we got this set. Heal Block doesn't really have a whole lot of application, and its attack is pretty terrible. So this is just kind of a junk card, which is too bad. Normally things with abilities can find a niche, but I don't think Bronzong is going to. Darmaxitan. This is another interesting card. I think more than any other card, this is the one to pair with Gardevoir. Mewtwo X obviously works too, but this guy definitely pairs well with Gardevoir. His attack, lets him attack for 1 energy, which is cool. He's got built-in draw support. Not that you'd really need to use that, hopefully, but it's there. And he's got 110 HP, which is pretty good for a stage 1, but not really game-breaking. It's kind of in that middle area where it doesn't give him a whole lot of advantage because not a whole lot of things hit for straight 100. Normally it's like 80 or 120, and everything in between is just kind of in the same boat HP-wise. But definitely a good card, and I think it's playable, even though it's a stage 1, so it's kind of slow. Chandelure, Fire Chandelure. This is another very good card, but one that is just not going to be fast enough to compete in this ridiculously fast metagame. Flame Burst does essentially 90 for 1. You hit the active for 30 and 2 of the bench. Pairs almost perfectly with his psychic counterpart. And Inferno is not a bad attack either. It's cheap, and discarding the energy probably won't matter that much, really, since you only need one to power him up again, and he'll normally be played with Dodrio. So I think this is a perfect one-of card for Chandelure decks. I don't think he'll hold up on his own, though, but still a good card. Lucario, here's an interesting card. His ability is essentially the same as Draudigon's. It does 20 damage every time it takes damage, so it's just another variation on Rough Skin. However, I think this guy is a lot worse than Draudigon. For one, he's a stage 1 with the same amount of HP, so he's immediately slower. Can't be charged by colorless energy. He takes 2 fighting. His attack is pretty good, but 50 damage, even though fighting is a great type to be right now because of all the electrics running around. He gets murdered by Mewtwo, so that's not good. And then his attack just doesn't hit for enough. 100 damage, even on super effective attack, not really going to do anything. So while certainly usable, I don't expect to see a whole lot of him. Shiftry had so much potential, but it didn't work. What we got is a really cool card that's just not very playable. Pretty standard stage 2 stuff here, 130 HP. His ability is what we're interested in. When this Pokemon comes into play from your hand, you get to flip a coin, and if you get heads, you can choose any card, any Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field, and put it at the bottom of their deck, so it's just gone, wiped off the map. You can use it on support Pokemon, you know, key supporters, especially anything that is evolved, because then they're going to have to re-evolve it. Or you can use it on an attacker that has a bunch of energy build up just to completely shut down their energy flow. The only problem is it's on a coin flip, so it is completely unreliable. I think if this was on a stage 1, it would see a lot more play, because then it's a lot easier to use Seeker or Super Scoop Up to repeat the effect. But because he's a stage 2, you cannot reliably keep plopping them down, and for that reason I think he's not really going to see a whole lot of play, unfortunately, because Shiftry is a cool guy. So now we have, looks like the EXs are kind of just all mixed in, so I'll just hit them as they come. But here's our only supporter for the set, Ceylon. This is a pretty good card for 2 kinds of decks, Emboar decks and for alligator decks. Unfortunately, for alligator decks, as I mentioned, kind of fallen by the wayside. Emboar, on the other hand, is seeing a rise in popularity, and for good measure. I think Emboar is one of the only stage 2 decks that can really hope to have a chance in this metagame. And one of the main reasons for that is that it puts threats up so quickly that even getting Catchered out isn't as big of a deal as it used to be, because if they're going to spend a catcher, normally they're going to go after one of your attackers just because they pose an immediate threat. They can still Catcher out Emboar to stall, but normally that is not going to help them. You know, they need to keep the pressure on. So it can be inconvenient, but it doesn't happen as often as it used to, just because there are much bigger threats to deal with now. So really, bench sitters, I feel, are almost a little bit safer than they have been in the past. You know, it is definitely still a threat to have your Emboar Catchered out, but I'm not talking about this card at all. Anyhow, Ceylon makes a great card for that deck. So if you want to use an Emboar deck, try out Ceylon. I have, and I really like it. DCE, we know this is a great card. End of discussion. Experience share doesn't work, so I'm not going to talk about it. Well, I guess I could. If this card worked, it would be interesting. I think a lot of decks might try a one-of. It's a very solid card. The main thing is that it's a Pokemon tool, and we just have better tools. Rocky Helmet and Eviolite both kind of outshine this, so certainly a playable card, but maybe not the best choice. Heavy Ball, another reason that Emboar is back in action. This is a good card in Emboar decks. That's really all I can say about it. That's the only deck that you're really going to see use it a lot. And for good reason. It helps you get Reshiram EX, it helps you get Embor, it even helps you get Pig Knight. So again, if you want to use Embor, use this card. It works. Other than that, probably stick with PCOM. I tried it out, both of the balls, and usually I ended up just keeping a one of and then going for PCOMs. They're a little bit more reliable. But still, definitely a playable card. So now we come to our first EX. I will show you. So here's Kyurem, regular art, full art. I like the regular art better. Feel free, you guys, to tell me which versions of the EXs you like better. If you want to leave me a comment about that, I'll be interested to see how everyone else feels. But I like the regular art on this one a lot better. I just think it's a really cool picture. Kyurem EX, in my opinion, the most underrated EX card we got in this set. Yes, his big attack is not as good as his brothers, Zekrom and Reshiram. 120 for 4 is not nearly as good as 150 for 4. Can't break that damage cap on most trainer lock decks, so that's not good. And you can't use it your next turn, so it does the least amount of damage and has the worst drawback, which kind of sucks. But I think that Frozen Wings is an amazing attack. I know a lot of other cards have an attack like this, but they're almost all on evolved Pokemon. I think Kyurem EX is the only basic to have an attack that lets you discard special metal energy. As we talked about, DCE is huge. This can be a major pain in the butt to a lot of popular decks. So while I haven't tested this guy out a whole lot, I'm looking to do so in the near future. I might try him in a couple of decks just to see how he works. He's certainly not the best EX card, but I do not think that he is the worst. And actually, I think what I might do is, let's look at the rest of the trainer cards, then I'll come back to the EXs real quick. So we got Level Ball. This is kind of in the same boat as Heavy Ball. If you use a lot of 90 HP or less Pokemon, this is a great trainer. You'll see this one mostly in electric decks, and it works great there. I have one in mine. I had as many as 3, but like I mentioned with Heavy Ball, I ended up going mostly with PCOMs for the reliability, but I did keep one just because it's nice to be able to fish out those electrics whenever you want. Is that it for... Okay. Pokemon Center. Not that great. It's okay, just kind of slow. It would work as a nice counterattack to Sky Arrow if you're really worried about it. It's okay. That's all I can say. You know, only healing 20 per turn, not going to do a whole lot for you. I tried it in my Truth deck, but I think the Truth in general is just kind of bad right now. So anyhow, if you want to use it, it's okay. But the real star of the show, obviously, is Sky Arrow Bridge. This is an amazing stadium, especially when every attacker in the game right now is basic, or almost every attacker. Just makes a lot of cards so much better than they would be. The big one, obviously, is Celebi. People are kind of debating over that. I think it really does help to have Celebi in the deck. And it also gives Tornadus and Thundurus free retreat. Tornadus is huge. Like, having double Tornadus and Sky Arrow is just stupid good. You know, you conserve your energy because you just pass the energy back and forth. So you're immune to N to a degree. They retreat for free, so you're immune to status. This is just a really great card in a lot of decks. If you're using basic attackers, which you are, basically, everyone is, then this card works. And we have Prism Energy, which is also amazing. Another big support for basics, just a Rainbow Energy for basics, but it doesn't do damage, so it's great. Yeah, that's all there is to say about that. So let's talk about the EXs. Let me get rid of the trainers. Okay, so I'm going to talk about them. I guess I'll do a countdown from worst to best. And again, this is my opinion, so feel free to disagree. This is just what I think. I have actually gotten to do quite a bit of testing. A lot more than I normally do because I haven't had classes all week, so I've had a lot of free time. Haven't had to teach at all. So I actually, you know, got to play quite a few matches, probably at least 50, with a variety of different decks. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on these cards. And so let's start at the bottom with number 6. Drum roll. Number 6 goes to Regigigas EX. I am not impressed by this card, which is a shame because I really like it. So let's look at the art. That's pretty cool. This one's pretty cool. Can't really decide which art I like better. They're both pretty great, but I'm gonna have to go with the full art as my favorite, just because I like his feet for some reason. He's got like grass on him, makes him seem a lot bigger. But I think both of the art on these cards is great. I'll keep this one up though because it's easier to read. So, like I said, I think this is the worst EX, unfortunately. He has a bad weakness, fighting. Terrakion is a very popular tech because it's a very good card right now. And he just has trouble doing things. Wow, what a vague description. Giga Power, pretty good. 80 for 3. That's the same as Tornadus, but he hurts himself, which does power up Raging Hammer, but it's just... how can I explain this? Like, the main... I guess the line for the EXs now is 150. Like, that's the line, the damage line, basically. And yes, Regigigas can hit that pretty easily, but if you're playing against a smart opponent, they will play around your Regigigas all day. You can kind of mitigate that by using Giga Power, but then you hurt yourself. And once you're down to 160, Zekrom and Reshiram with a plus power are going to take you out. So I just think this card, it's great if you're playing against someone who doesn't know how to fight it. But as soon as you face someone who knows how to work around it, it's just going to be 2 prizes for free, basically. And that's why it's at the bottom of my list. So, Regigigas is number 6. Number 5, drum roll. Nope, not going to be Zekrom, just playing. Number 5, Shaman EX. Let's take a look at the art first before I talk about it. So here's the first one. He's kind of doing some yell, squealy thing. He kind of looks like he's squealing. So here's the second one. I definitely prefer the full art version on this one. He just looks a lot cooler with the full art version. But once again, we'll go back to the regular so we can read his attacks. And I also want to say, I should have said this at Regigigas, I don't think any of the EXs are bad. Like, they're all playable. They're all good. And you can use them in competitive decks, each and every one of them. But some are just better than others. And my thing with Shaman is, when it works, it's amazing. But 9 times out of 10, it will not work. And if you have to start with it, it's basically a sitting duck. It's only got 110 HP, which, when you're giving up 2 prizes, is not good, since a catcher and a Zekrom or a Reshiram means that this guy's toast. His attack, Revenge Blast, really good, but it doesn't really get good until your opponent's down to 3 prizes. At that time, you can hit 120 for 2, and then 150 and potentially 180, though normally if your opponent's down to 1 prize, they're only a catcher away from winning. And chances are they're going to get that catcher. It's happened to me. I have tried Shaman out quite a bit, and I've just not been impressed. I do think it's better than Regigigas because it does have that huge comeback potential, but like I said, 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to work. It's almost worth using just for the one time that it does because it is awesome, but you can't really rely on it. So that's why he's going to sit close to the bottom at number 5. Up next, number 4. Number 4 goes to... Actually, I don't know who... All right, number 4 is going to go to Reshiram EX. Reshiram, this has been a hotly debated card. I'm sure a lot of people will think that it should probably be higher up on the list, but for me, and this is absolutely the honest truth, I have not yet flipped a heads on Brave Fire ever, so it's going to be lower for me. Glinting Claw does 50 with a potential to do 80. This is not a very good attack, I think. 50 damage for 3 is pretty bad, and you can't rely on it doing 80. Then Brave Fire, 150 without any discarding is really good, but the drawback is that if you flip tails, you do 50 to yourself. That puts you at 130 damage, and easily in the revenge killable range for a whole lot of things. So, like I said, if I flipped heads more with this guy, I would probably put him higher on the list, but for me, he's just been a disappointment. He's definitely good, though, and the fact that he doesn't discard energy makes him really great with Embor, because you can get a turn 2 Reshiram up a surprising amount of the time, and that is a lot of pressure. The drawback of hitting yourself for 50 isn't as big of a drawback when your opponent is not set up at all, and when you're just tearing through their team. So he's definitely got potential, but you know, doing 50 damage to yourself is huge. This is also only because I'm playing on TCGO. If I was playing in real life and if Violite worked, Reshiram would be at least 1, if not 2 spots higher, because a Violite really takes him out of that revenge kill range when he flips the tails, but TCGO, that doesn't work, and so I just hurt myself and die. So let's look at the art. Here's the regular art. Here's the full art. I like the full art on this. I think that the background of this card is just awesome. I like the regular art quite a bit too. It's a pretty cool picture, but full art is definitely my favorite for Reshiram. So 3 more to go, and at number 3 we have Kurum. I already talked about him, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on him. Number 2, I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense. This should be obvious. Number 2, Zekrom. This is another card that's gotten a lot of debate. Is it good? Is it not? And I think it's really good. So we've got Glinting Claw again, which is not very good. And then we've got Strongbolt, which does 150, and you have to discard 2 energy to do it. So with this guy's huge retreat cost, bad weakness, and discarding 2 energy, and the fact that Electric can attach to the active, this guy is kind of hard to play. But I do think that he's a really solid card in Electric decks as a one-of. He works pretty well against Mewtwo. The discarding energy actually helps you out quite a bit. The guaranteed 150 is nice, since sometimes Mewtwo can't hit that high without a lot of energy. And the fact that you're not going to make him easily revengeable on a bad flip really makes him a solid card. So he's hard to play, but I think he's really good. I've had the most success running just one of him in my Electric deck and just dropping him down late game, charging him up in 1 turn, and just blowing something away. If you can't get him, you know, if he gets stuck active, obviously he becomes a liability. And I think a lot of people try to get 2 going and hit for that 150 every turn, and I don't think that's the way to play him. I think the way to play him is paired with his non-EX version, just to save this guy until later, and then drop him down and bulldoze to clear the way for probably a Mewtwo to finish off the game. But I do think this is a really great card. So let's look at the art. Here is the regular art. This is just fantastic. I love the picture. I love the electricity just rippling across the edges of the card here. Now here's the full art. This just kind of reminds me of Tron for some reason. The blue background and the highlighted lights. It looks like virtual Zekrom, and I don't really care for it. I definitely prefer the regular art for this one. So now, with no surprise to absolutely anyone, the best EX of the set, Mewtwo EX. Some people have said this guy is overrated, he's not that good, you know, whatever, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. While it's true that sometimes you need a ton of energy to hit for big numbers with this guy, that's not why he's so good. The reason he's so good is that he attacks so cheap and he has so much HP. I know all the EXs have a lot of HP, but none of them can get charged in a single turn without help. Mewtwo's the only one you can drop down and attack with immediately, and that is why he's so good. X-Ball is a really good attack, but it's not amazing. His advantage is just being able to come out of nowhere and revenge things. He takes out a lot of things on the revenge, and paired with the fact that he takes colorless energy, so you can use him in any deck, just makes him amazing. Yep, best card in the format right now, aside from Catcher, I would say. He is a big threat. If you lead with him, you have immediate pressure. It is absolutely a deal with this now or lose kind of card. And at least for this set, until Darkrai shows up, this is the big man on campus. I don't think that the hype was exaggerated at all. So here's his art on the regular art card. Very cool looking. I'm not a fan of his tail here. It looks kind of weird, but I do like the X-Ball he's powering up. And then the full art card, okay, it's pretty cool, I guess. He does look kind of intimidating. I'm not sure what's going on with his hand over here. I think they had to bend it to get it to fit on the card, but very cool background. I personally prefer the regular art, but I don't dislike the full art either. So there we go. That is gonna do it for my review of Next Destinies. Let me know what you think, and I'll probably do this for the sets from now on. So I have one match backed up right now, and I will work on getting some more throughout the week. So more coming your way shortly. Hang tight, guys.